I don't have the exact solution of what that is, but that's where I see the future of marketing.
What's more important, marketing or sales?
Ooh, that's a great question.
How they're using AI to grow the business and scale it to that 8-9 figure.
It's interesting. So we both live in this world of where we think everybody should be using AI.
I'm curious, why do you think that the tariffs are playing such an important role there?
I've been playing in the tariff game for a long time. It just changes the rules of the game.
It's how do we navigate that chaos to find the opportunities?
The thing that we have to realize is that we've kicked the can down long enough.
What role do you think the different marketing platforms play out here?
What? Like, dude.
All right, boys and girls, we've got Chris Lee in the house. He's the founder of Go Next Level Pros. Chris has founded and assisted with the exiting of three, if I'm not mistaken, 9-figure exits. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, excited to be here. Appreciate that.
Chris, so you're building and scaling these large organizations. What's more important, marketing or sales?
Ooh, that's a great question. Marketing, absolutely, because most of us have an obscurity issue, not a closability issue. Once you can solve the obscureness, then you can work on closing.
Obscurity meaning we're doing too many things, we're selling too many products.
Meaning nobody knows who we are. Like we're obscure to the general population, and so even though you think that you're telling everybody about it and everybody should know exactly who you are, that really only exists in between your own two ears. And so you just got to be talking and broadcasting and branding a whole lot more than you realize.
Does part of that go into the fact that AI is taking such a major role in the sales part that we don't need as many salespeople or setters?
So I'm a salesman at heart, and I definitely think that you need great salespeople. The thing is like you can have the best team of salespeople and no leads, and you're not going to get any business, right? Like marketing solves the lead issue, people that are interested in hearing more about your product, and then sales solves the conversion issue. And so the great news is, like you said, AI can solve a lot of both sides of that for you.
How are you seeing that work for students and members of your program?
As far as like AI voice, or what do you think? What are your
I'm just curious what these other high performing business owners, how they're using AI to grow the business and scale it to that 8-9 figure level.
It's interesting. So the companies that I built were not on artificial intelligence whatsoever. In fact, it just wasn't really a thing when I exited my business in 2022. And then I consulted for equity on one, and then helped consult another one that all exited between 22 and 23. Obviously, the rise of AI has been most drastic over the last couple of years, but we are seeing some major shifts in the marketplace, as you're aware, where people are utilizing voice AI agents at a tremendous rate. But at the same time, like me and you, I think we both live in this world of where we think everybody should be using AI or is using AI, but the vast majority still are like, that's not relevant. And so it's amazing to me when I get out and I talk one-on-one with people, how few people are actually utilizing AI.
Well, agreed. I think some absurd amount, like I was talking to my barber the other day, he's like, Chat GPT, what are you talking about? I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like you haven't even opened up Chat GPT. You're living in the Stone Ages. But I'm kind of empathetic to that because there's always the next thing that's going to transform your business and transform your life. And most of the times it ends up being smoke and mirrors. Like a few years ago, it was NFTs, and NFTs are going to change everything.
Yeah, Mark, you look like you're about the same age as me. I think where we're sitting right now with artificial intelligence is 1995 internet, and people are using email, which is ChatGPT. And, it's like there's a tool, it's replacing Google for most people, gets them a little bit more information, but most people don't even know how to prompt ChatGPT the right way, let alone access agents that are actually out doing work for them. And so if I could correlate it to really any time in history, that's got to be it. Mid-90s, internet is just becoming a thing. People are starting to create websites. For the most part, it's chat rooms and email.
Well, it strikes me that the internet did fundamentally change the way every business organization operated, specifically when it comes to sales and marketing. Do you think that AI is going to have that sort of impact over the next 5 years?
100%. So, in fact, to get a little political on you, I think a lot of the reason for the tariff war right now is completely driven by AI. And the reason, so if I think about the future, so I'm really good friends with the number one consultant for the World Economic Forum with artificial intelligence. It's Will I Am. So Will and I, homies, this guy is like thinking 20 years in the future all the time when it comes to artificial intelligence. Most people don't realize like how intelligent this guy is. But if I put on my like, okay, what does the world look like 10 years from now? And really the differentiating factors are a few things. One is land. And the reason why I say land is because land is the access to all the natural resources. Okay. And the reason why this is so imperative, if you think about a world that's ran on robots and artificial intelligence, what is the one limiting factor? It is purely a resource, right? Like if a robot has wood and metal and chips and everything else that they can make from, like literally there's no limiting factor because you have the intelligence to be able to build anything and the robotics to be able to execute on anything. Ultimately, the only limiting factor is who owns the land, who has the resources, and who has invested in robotics to be able to manufacture. And so when I look at like what's going on right now, I look at we do not manufacture hardly anything in the United States of America. Over the last 40 years, China has taken all of our manufacturing, 50 years, 60 years, and they've been able to invest. Like when I was building my solar business, I went over to China and walked through these manufacturing plants. They aren't manned. They have robotics building all these solar panels. They have been able to take all the money that we have been giving them and invest in technology that has dissipated the cheap labor. So cheap labor in the future will not be the differentiating factor, because if you're not using labor and you have the technology and you have the resources, you're going to be able to make a product cheaper than anybody else, whoever owns those things. And so I like you say sales and marketing, man, I'm looking like 10 years. Like it's all about who has the land, the resources, and the manufacturing ability. And then it's going to be us just making sure that the robots are functioning properly.
So I'm just curious, because I don't disagree. I'm curious, why do you think that the tariffs are playing such an important role there? Because tariffs inherently are going to increase the cost of raw materials needed to build these manufacturing plants, robots, et cetera.
So I've been playing in the tariff game for a long time. In the solar industry, tariffs have existed for a very long time. There's tariffs put on China, then they move the manufacturing down to Cambodia, so on and so forth. And so whenever a tariff is implemented, especially a drastic tariff, like 85%, 200%, whatever else, it just changes the rules of the game and people no longer play the previous game. And so when these tariffs are being threatened and put out, what it's doing is saying, okay, we can no longer manufacture in China. We can no longer manufacture. All our invested dollars have to go to a place where we are going to be tariffed the least, which in this case would be moving manufacturing to the United States, right? Because we have the land, we have the resources, we do not have the technology and the actual manufacturing ability. And so we have to bring that back home. Now, this is a long play. It doesn't happen overnight, but what we've seen over the last month, 4 to 6 weeks, is we've literally seen trillions of dollars that are now being allocated to the development of new manufacturing facilities here in the United States, right? The UAE, United Arab Emirates, they're dedicating $1.2 trillion over the next 5 years here in the United States. That's what they're investing in manufacturing in the United States. Apple is allocating $500 billion to the development of manufacturing and facilities. And this has all taken place since Trump has taken office and started threatening with these tariffs. Like, most people aren't hearing this because it's not being talked about on the news. But like, these are the things that are happening. All the major players are now saying the rules of the game have changed. The only way I'm going to be able to continue to play by the new game is if I move my manufacturing facilities to the United States of America. And most people, when they hear that, they think, oh, why would we want these cheap labor jobs? Like the reason we got rid of manufacturing to begin with is because, cheap labor. Again, cheap labor is not the distinguishing factor in a future with robotics and AI. Robotics and AI replaces all your cheap labor. And so like that's where I'm at. And I'm like, oh freak, man, I gotta make sure that I'm investing in all those things and staying on the cutting edge of how I can utilize robotics and AI to the best of my ability.
And one of the big things that I think that I hear from you, Chris, is the chaos that the tariffs bring. And, just to a business owner who's got a stable business that's working, let's say you're in e-com, for example, and all of a sudden they're like, Trump's like 125% tariff on China. And then China's like 110% tariff on you. And all of a sudden you're in e-com, you're like, oh crap, what do I do? I don't think we've seen the end of that. I mean, they're just tariffs all over the place. And all of a sudden Trump said, we're going to put a 90-day pause on it. But there's so much chaos. How do we navigate that chaos to find the opportunities?
That's a great question. So first of all, I think the thing that we have to realize is that we've kicked the can down long enough, and there has to be a reset to the way that the global economy works, right? And so understanding that as a business owner, I've got to my focus has to be on building skill and culture, not necessarily a strategy that I'm going to stick with for the rest. Like we've got to be able to pivot on strategy on a drop of a hat. When Trump comes out and says, 125% tariff on your one product that you sell, now you have to take your skills that you've built, whether it's sales or online, drop shipping, whatever it is, right? Like that you build out, and you've got to figure out, okay, the rules of the game have changed. How do I take my skills and my culture that I've created with my team to go and apply? And I think this is just an imperative to any business at any time. It doesn't matter if Trump's in office, if Biden's in office. Like when I was building my business, one of the key culture aspects that we always talked about, I said, hey, look, here at SolGen, we are building a culture. We are going to develop out your skills. We're going to make you fantastic at everything that you do. You're going to be better people, better contributors to society. Right now, our strategy is solar, but that could change. That could be, and we would literally tell our team this all the time. We'd be like, hey, 6 months from now, we could be selling a completely different product. We are all in on solar right now, but we've got to be always preparing ourselves to be able to take the skills that we have and be able to shift them over into another industry. And I think that's just any great business has to have that real conversation and can't just be caught with their pants down with the inability to pivot.
Understood, heard. The challenge here is it takes a long time to build out systems and proven systems that actually work. So if you're pivoting strategy, that to me says, okay, now we need to scrap all the systems that we've built out. We need to create new systems, or are we just adapt?
Not necessarily. Like a lot of times systems apply across the board. If you have a system for drop shipping or sourcing product, like you can't get hung up the fact that your one supplier of that product is no longer in business. You got to figure out, okay, how can we apply this system to a different product from a different country, from a different whatever, right? And be able to quickly identify a need. Again, going back to skill, like the skill to be able to source product, the skill to be able to identify market demand, the skill to be able to have an ideal client profile, to be able to like these are skills that aren't particular to one particular product or industry or anything else. And so that's what I'm saying here is like, you can't get hung up on like one tariff move or whatever else. Now, sometimes there's some casualties to war, and this is war, right? And you might be the casualty. And if you are the casualty and there's no way to pivot, you got to be willing to do the hard things in those situations. Fire all the employees, completely make a shift, learn a new product, learn a new service, right? And unfortunately, that's the game of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Do you think that these tariff trade wars are going to accelerate or decelerate adoption of AI, automation, and new systems within the US?
I think absolutely accelerate, right? Like if I'm Apple and I'm saying I'm going to invest $500 billion into manufacturing here in the United States, there's no way on earth that I am building those manufacturing facilities based on human labor, right? Like I am finding the best robotics in the world. I am finding the best artificial intelligence in the world and making sure that that is a manless, what they call a dark manufacturing facility. Right. And so absolutely, it's going to push it. Now, obviously, guys like Apple, they have way more resources than Joe Blow down the street that did $10 million last year. But I mean, again, this is the future. And we have never approached anything like this in the history of mankind. Right. Like where autonomous robots are able to exist and replicate. I mean, you look at like what Tesla's coming out with. You look at like, dude, it's both scary and exciting. Like maybe we're going to be able to get back to a little bit more of our humanity, go and enjoy longer walks on the beach, enjoy our families and spend time doing the things that we absolutely love versus, the grind and hustle culture, which again, I love, but freak, dude, like we don't know what it's going to look like 10 to 15 years. And so I think the important thing, just as anybody that's listening to this, is like, even though you don't know and you can't control it, it's like, what can you control today that is going to get you ready to make the pivot? How can you stay on that cutting edge of knowing what the next thing that's being rolled out and just being willing and able to pivot and apply new skills to new industry and new opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, well, and that's where I'm at. Where are the opportunities? Another thing, you talk about a world changing very quick. Have you seen the new Netflix show Adolescence?
No.
You seen them? You heard of it?
No, it sounds awesome though.
So I'll just give you a quick premise. I want to hear your opinion on this. Spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. Basically, the premise of the movie is that, or the show is young men, young teenage boys are being manipulated by the internet and by internet man gurus to basically hate women and commit acts of violence. Basic premise. And one of the things that I noted in this show that was shocking to me, we're both parents. These kids, these 13-year-old kids are all on Instagram. When we talk about shifts in skills and culture on a global scale, what does that look like? What does an entire generation of kids growing up on Instagram look like?
Oh man, first of all, that movie sounds terrifying. Second, if you've ever read the book, The Anxious Generation, it's very, very interesting and gives a whole like scientific approach to what you're talking about there. Like, as far as like skills for the next generation, one is like, how do I like AI engineering and prompting is going to be one of the biggest opportunities that people just have to know. Like that, there will not exist a business of people that are doing work. They're going to be managing and creating artificial intelligence. Like that's going to be a thing. Coding and programming is no longer going to be a thing. Like anybody can code and program now with ChatGPT and so many other of these other tools out there. The last thing that I really think is going to be taken over is like a fully autonomous robot. Like that is going to be really difficult so if you think about anything that a fully autonomous robot will be able to do, I'm talking about like it can drive up to your house, get out of a car, identify issues with your roof or your plumbing or anything else. Like obviously I've come from that space, but like it's a safe haven. Like you talk about like the home products and service, like that is a safe haven for labor to be able to go and scale it, because the things that are being built right now in the robotics world is just the duplicated tasks, right? What we call NPC work, right? Non-player character work that's just like do over and over and over again, the same exact thing. That's the first stuff to go. Anything that is just like reason, like a little bit of input, digital reasoning with like the same action over and over again, that stuff is going to be wiped up faster than we can like drop a hat at. So it's like, okay, what takes additional like analysis from a physical realm, not even just like our minds are getting replaced real quick from this stuff. It's like physically, what can we do as humans way better than any robot that currently exists? And ultimately, that's where huge opportunities exist. because like, dude, drop shipping, I know that's a lot of your crowd is like in the Amazon space and those type of things. Like, dude, the robots can figure out that shiz quick. Like, and so like they could source a product, they can identify a buyer, create the connection without a human mind, like, and there's artificial intelligence right now that are doing these type of things, that are investing, that are, whatever already with purely autonomously.
Yeah. So in your example, you would say that if you're the physical human driving up, getting out of the car, examining, shaking hands with the homeowner or business owner, that's where you want to be. You don't want to be in the process of, you want to be automating and using AI on the back end to do fulfillment and that sort of thing. If I'm hearing
so anything labor that requires like very unique and customality is going to be one of the last things to be replaced. And then I also think that there is a sales element that we as humans will desire a one-on-one approach. Like as the robots take over, as the artificial intelligence takes over, as things like become really easy, like frankly, we may not even be making decisions on our purchases in the future. Like I can say, hey, Alexa, find the nearest plumber for me, make sure it's got the best service. You make the phone call, you schedule the appointment, you do everything, right? Like boom. And then they show up and they do the work and you're not even involved. But like, if there's an industry that will, I don't know where it exists, but people will still want that human touch in some way or another. And so like constantly asking yourself, like, if we lose the human touch here, will that hurt the industry? And that's where I see opportunity as well, is just like being involved. And so even like high level sales, I think the robots, artificial intelligence, voice AI might take that over, but like not in the next year or two.
Interesting. And I did say part of that's going to depend on how much data you're able to get on the customer to lead. I actually have one more quick question here for you, Chris, before we close out here. With all this being said, the hunger for authenticity, for human contact, labor type jobs, I'm in the marketing field, so I'd like to pick your brain on this. What role do you think the different marketing platforms play out here, right? YouTube versus Instagram versus Google ads versus Facebook ads. How do you think that plays out here? Where do you think the best place to get new leads is going to be?
Dude, good question. Like all those different platforms have been played pretty hard over the last 5, 6, 7 years, right? I think they're being a part of voice AI in the marketing standpoint. Like I don't know. I don't have a solution to this, but this is where I see opportunity. Like if you can be the company that is recommended by Alexa, by Siri, by everything else, right? When you say, hey, Alexa, take care of this for me. Like when you have the robots out doing the work, right? Like an agent that is doing the work for you, and the recommended platform for whatever that agent is looking for is you, that's where you're going to be able to win. And again, I don't have the exact solution of what that is, but that's where I see the future of marketing going, right? Because like, I don't want to be advertised to anymore. I'm just saying, hey, this is what I want. Or Alexa or Siri or someone else is going to be even just making recommendations like, hey, Chris, have you taken a look at this? This might be a great option for your home, for your business, whatever else, like literally just scanning. Like, dude, we have the way I'm utilizing AI right now. So do you know what Plod Note is?
Sure.
Yeah. So I got a Plod Note that literally records me 24 hours a day. And I have my assistant that downloads it and uploads it to ChatGPT and uploads it to Notion and everything else. And so like, for example, on Notion, which is like a project management tool, it takes the raw data and I go over to Notion. I say, Notion, what are the top 10 tasks I should be working on today? And it's like, it gives me my 10 tasks that I need to be doing based on what it listened to me in my conversations throughout the day. Dude, what? Like, dude, I'm telling you, bro, and so where's the marketing opportunity? It's like being involved in these different platforms where it's like listening to you and making recommendations based on the way that you're living your life. And so where like Facebook and Instagram and stuff have tried to get there, and their freaking algorithms are really good. It's like, dude, how did they know I was looking for that thing, right? But like when it really knows exactly, like, because it's been following you and recording you and doing all the different things, like, I don't know, dude. Again, I don't know where that exists or how that all comes together, but I'm looking for it, and I'm like aware of it, and I'm trying to make moves that get me top of mind anytime an AI makes a recommendation.
Really next level stuff there, Chris. And you look back 20 years ago, it was, how do I show up in Google search? Not that Google's dead now, but my kids don't even say, let's Google it. They say, let's ask ChatGPT. That's what they say now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, ask Siri, ask Alexa, ask ChatGPT, dude. It's like literally just all the robots are sitting there waiting. And they do, and Google's. Google.
Well, and I don't think people realize this, but if you have an Alexa in your house, or you have, to your point, Siri, that device is listening to everything you say. How do I know? Because when you say, hey, Alexa, it turns on. That's because it's listening to every single word.
Every single, dude. And all that data, guess where that's going? Like just down the street from here, because we have some of the cheapest power in the nation in Eastern Washington, are huge AWS, Amazon Web Service, data centers that are literally just pulling that crap in. And that's how, like, dude, they are the plot notes, but they're taking that stuff and uploading it to their own database and saying, hey, how do we advertise to this person better? Right? Like they know, and we're going to see some drastic changes. That's why big tech is a little scary. Yeah. But, and I think one, as like a conservative, I don't want to get like overly like caught up with like Big Brother. Like you just got to accept it. And to your point, like Alexa always listening, the camera's always taking photos. You know that, right? Like literally, if I go and I have my camera app open and I go take a photo, I go to the live version and somehow the pictures existed before the time I actually clicked. And so that just proves this sucker is like always recording. Dude, it's wild, but it's the day we live in, and you just got to figure out like, okay, how do I get on the cutting edge, utilizing all the technology, and be first of mind, not to the consumer, but to the AI.
Yeah, that's very, very much next level stuff, which correlates perfectly with where you can get more of Chris. You can go to gonextlevelpros.com, gonextlevelpros.com. And if there was ever a time to go next level, now is the time.
Absolutely.
Now is the time. Things are changing so quickly. It's very hard to keep up with. Go nextlevelpros.com. Get more Chris Lee in your life. Chris, thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.